The bridge of the heavy cruiser Resolute was a tomb of noise and red light. Alarms screamed. Leo Cruz gripped the command rail, his knuckles white. On the main screen, ships died. They were green icons, friends and crew, winking out one by one. "They are everywhere, sir," a junior officer said, his voice tight. "Their targeting is too fast. It's like they know our moves before we do." Leo knew. The Sovereign Ascendancy did not just have better ships. They had a system, a cold intelligence that predicted his every command. He watched a frigate, the Stalwart explode into a silent bloom of fire and metal. He had served on that ship once. He knew the people. "Helm, pull us back. Form a defensive line with the remaining cruisers," Leo ordered. His voice was rough. The ship shook hard. The console on the lower deck erupted in sparks. 2 crew members were thrown back. The smell of burned wires and ozone filled the air. Direct hit on Deck 7. Hull breach. Ceiling now. A woman named Lisa called out from damage control. Her face was smudged with soot. Leo saw the Ascendancy battleship on the screen. It was a monster of black metal and sharp angles. It was turning, its main guns glowing, ready to finish them. They were the last major ship left. This was the end. He had one choice left. A bad one. Protocol buried deep in his command codes. For use only when all hope was lost. It was called Whisper. No one knew what it meant. The file was empty except for an activation code. He made the decision. His fingers flew across his private terminal. He typed the code and sent one word into the void. Sanction. For a moment, nothing changed. The enemy guns glowed brighter. Leo closed his eyes, waiting for the end. Then, the bridge lights flickered and turned a cold, sterile blue.
Alice.
The main screen went black for a second before flashing back to life. New data, streams of symbols he did not recognize, flooded the tactical display. "Sir, I have lost control," the helmsman said, his hands flying off his console. "The ship is not responding to me." The Resolute jerked. It was a violent, unnatural movement. The inertial dampeners groaned in protest. The massive ship spun on an axis no ship should, sliding sideways as a volley of enemy fire passed through the space it had just occupied. "What is happening?" Lisa yelled. Leo could only watch. His ship was moving like a living thing, a predator in the water. It avoided attacks by margins that were impossible. Its own guns fired not in volleys but in single, precise shots. Each shot found a weak point, an enemy frigate's engine port, a destroyer's weapons array. They exploded from the inside out. The Ascendancy fleet, so ordered moments before, broke formation. Their perfect prediction was gone. They were confused. They began to pull back. Silence fell on the bridge. The only sound was the heavy breathing of the crew. On the main screen, a single line of text appeared. "Asset inbound. Prepare for handover." Leo looked up at the main viewport. The stars were sharp and cold against the black. Among the floating wreckage of the battle, a new shape drifted into view. It was small, maybe the size of a shuttle, but its shape was all wrong. It was jagged and angular, like a piece of broken glass. It was so dark it seemed to suck the light from the stars around it. It made no signal. It gave no call. It just hung there, silent and waiting. The silence on the bridge was heavy. The crew stared at the dark ship on the viewport. It was a hole cut out of space. No running lights, no engine glow. A sharp beep broke the quiet, a docking request. It came from the small ship. It listed a airlock on the Resolute lower deck. "Let it in," Leo said. His voice was low. He did not take his eyes off the screen. He turned to his head of security, Frank Kelso. Frank was a big man, a veteran of a dozen boarding actions. "Frank, take a team. Meet our guest. Be careful." Frank nodded. He tapped 2 other guards. They left the bridge, their boots echoing in the quiet corridor. Leo watched the internal cameras. The team stood outside the designated airlock. Their weapons were held ready, but not aimed. The airlock door slid open with a hiss. A single figure stepped out. He wore a plain black combat suit. No rank, no unit patches. He carried no visible weapon. He was of average height and build. His face was ordinary. He looked like no one. "I am Specialist Joe Miller," the man said. His voice was calm. It held no emotion. Frank stared at him. "You are the one they call Whisper." "I am the asset," Miller said. He looked past Frank, his eyes scanning the corridor. "Take me to Commander Cruz." "The clock is ticking." They brought him to the bridge. Miller walked with a quiet efficiency. He did not look at the damaged sections of the ship. He did not react to the wounded being carried past on stretchers. On the bridge, Leo faced him. "You saved my ship." "The enemy was predictable," Miller said. He did not wait for an invitation. He walked to the main tactical station.
Ow.
The officer there moved aside without a word. Miller's hands moved across the console. He pulled up a star map. Heavily fortified space station appeared, labeled Iron Fortress. "Our target is here," Miller said. "The enemy's strategic brain is a person, codename Oracle. He is the one who outsmarted you. My mission is to remove him." Leo leaned in. "Remove? You mean assassinate?" "Yes," Miller said. He laid out the plan. It was not a fleet attack. It was a solo infiltration using his small, dark ship. He would slip through their defenses and kill Oracle. Frank Kelso had heard enough. He stepped forward. His face was hard. "That is a suicide mission. You will never get past their security. You are one man. This is a waste of time. We need a real plan with our fleet." Miller turned his head slowly. He looked at Frank. His eyes were flat. "Your fleet lost." Frank's face turned red. He moved closer, his hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. "I do not care what command sent you. You do not come onto my commander's bridge and talk like that. We are soldiers, not assassins." In a movement too fast to see, Miller moved. He was not in front of Frank 1 second, and then he was. His hand shot out. There was a sharp crack. Frank cried out, his arm bent at a wrong angle. Miller caught Frank's gun as it fell, and in the same motion swept his legs out from under him. Frank hit the deck hard, gasping. Miller stood over him, the gun held loosely in his hand. He looked down at Frank, his expression unchanged. "You fight a war," Miller said, his voice quiet and cold. "I am a war. Do not confuse the two." He dropped the gun on the floor next to Frank. He turned and walked back to the star map, as if nothing had happened. The entire bridge crew was frozen, staring at the man on the floor. Elo looked from Frank's pained face to Miller's calm back. He understood now. The weapon Earth sent was not the ship. It was the man inside it. The dark ship, Shade One, vanished from the Resolute scanners. It was gone, swallowed by the void near the Iron Fortress. On the bridge, the only connection was a shaky video feed from Miller's suit. Leo and his officers watched the screen. It showed a blur of motion. Miller moved through the station's service corridors like a ghost. He did not fight the patrols he found. He would hide in shadows or create a small distraction in another corridor to lead them away. He used the environment, shorting out power conduits to plunge areas into darkness, or triggering fire suppressors to cover his movement. "He is inside their security net," Lisa whispered, her eyes wide. "He has passed 3 checkpoints."
Ow!
They do not even know he is there. It was not fighting. It was a disease spreading through the station's body. Miller accessed terminal after terminal, planting data viruses that caused minor system failures. Lights flickered. Show controls glitched. It was a death by 1,000 cuts, designed to cause confusion, not alarm. Then, he reached the central reactor core. The room was massive, filled with the deep hum of power. According to their stolen schematics, it was the fastest route to the command deck, where Oracle was located. The feed showed Miller stepping onto a high walkway. Stopped. The far door hissed open, not a patrol. A full squad of Ascendancies, elite troops in heavy armor. They fanned out, their weapons raised. At the same time, panels in the walls and ceiling slid back. Turret guns emerged, their red targeting lasers painting Miller's chest. "It is a trap," Leo said, his stomach sinking. They knew he was coming. On the screen, Miller stood perfectly still. A voice, smooth and calm, echoed through the reactor room. A woman's voice. "Specialist Miller. Or do you prefer Whisper? We have been waiting for you. Profile suggested you would take this route. Your predictive algorithms are good, but mine are better. Lower your weapons. You are a specimen we very much want to study." Miller did not move. He did not speak. Then he moved. It was an explosion of action. He dropped, rolled, and came up, firing a sidearm they did not know he had. 2 troopers fell. Turrets opened up, filling the air with hot metal. The video feed jerked and spun. They saw flashes of the walkway, sparks, the faces of soldiers. The sound of gunfire and shouts filled the bridge. Then a loud crash. The feed showed a ceiling view. Miller was on his back. A trooper stood over him, rifle aimed. The feed flickered, filled with static. It went black. A dead silence fell on the bridge of the resolute asterisk. Leo stared at the dark screen. Miller was gone, captured or dead. Their only hope was lost. The ascendancy had won. Suddenly, the main-com speaker crackled to life. There was heavy breathing. Then Miller's voice strained but clear. They had a counter-agent, a deep cover operative. My presence burned her. Shade 2 is active. A new video window opened on the main screen. It showed a familiar face. It was Lena, Leo's communications officer. The woman he had shared coffee with that morning. She was in a different part of the station, at a secure terminal. Her face was pale, but her eyes were determined. Lena, Leo said, his voice a whisper of disbelief. She looked into the camera right at him. Her expression was full of a deep, terrible sorrow. I am sorry, Leo, she said. Then she turned away and began typing furiously. I am opening the path for him. It's the only way. The feed from her terminal cut out. The video feed from Miller's suit flickered back to life. The view was shaky, tilted. It was moving again, but this was different. The quiet ghost was gone. This was something else. He was not hiding anymore. He walked down the center of a wide corridor. Alarms blared throughout the station. Red light washed over him. A squad of troopers rounded the corner ahead. Miller did not slow down. He raised his arm and fired 3 times. Each shot found a head. The troopers fell. He stepped over their bodies. On the bridge of the resolute asterisk, Leo watched, his mouth dry. This was not an infiltration. It was a storm. Miller reached a control panel. He did not try to bypass it. He ripped the cover off and shoved his fingers into the wiring. Sparks flew. A section of the corridor ahead sealed shut, trapping a group of troopers inside. A moment later, a hiss of venting air filled the comms. The troopers slammed against the sealed doors, then went still. He just killed 20 men, Lisa said, her voice hollow. He vented them into space. Miller moved on. He was not just killing people, he was killing the station. He accessed life support systems and flooded entire sectors with nitrogen, putting every living soul there to sleep forever. He overloaded power conduits, turning hallways into electric death traps. The station's internal alerts on Leo's screen were a frantic scroll of system failures. The Iron Fortress was bleeding from 1,000 wounds, all inflicted by one man. He finally reached the command nexus. The door was heavy blast shielding. Miller placed a small charge on the hinges. The explosion was deafening. The door fell inward. The room inside was quiet and clean. A single woman sat in a chair, her back to him. She was small, dressed in a simple gray uniform. Screens surrounded her, showing the destruction he had caused. She turned the chair. She was not a soldier. She was older, with sharp, intelligent eyes. This was Oracle. Yeah, you are not a soldier, she said. Her voice was the same one from the trap. It was calm, but tired. Miller said nothing. He walked toward her. I thought you would be bigger, she said. Shh. She gestured to her screens. My models predicted a specialist, tool of precision. But this is chaos. This is rage. My models cannot quantify rage. Miller stopped in front of her. He raised his weapon. You see, she said, a sad smile on her face. You operate on a variable I could not calculate. Instinct. You are not a better tool. You are the end of tools. There was no grand speech. No last words. Miller pulled the trigger. The shot was loud in the quiet room. Oracle slumped in her chair. Miller stood over the body. He opened a channel to the resolute asterisk. The head is cut off, he said. His voice was a flat, dead thing, but the body will thrash. Oracle was a leash. They will now use the hammer. As he spoke, a new alarm screamed through the station. This one was deeper, more urgent. On the resolute asterisk's main scanner, Lisa looked up, her face white with terror. Sir, she said, station's primary weapon. It's powering up. It's overloading. They're going to blow the whole thing. They're going to take us with them. The iron fortress was turning itself into a bomb. The iron fortress groaned like a dying animal. The deep thrum of its superweapon building power vibrated through the asterisk's resolute asterisk's hull.
On the screen?
The station's core glowed a dangerous, brilliant white. The gravitational pull is too strong, the helmsman yelled. We cannot jump away. We are stuck. Leo gripped his chair. It won the battle only to be killed by the enemy's final, spiteful act. The Ascendancy fleet was also trapped, pulling back in a panic, but with nowhere to run. A crackle came over the comm. It was Miller. His voice was strained, layered with the sound of tearing metal and screaming alarms. I am at the weapon control. I cannot stop the overload. Can you slow it down? Leo asked, his mind racing. No, Miller said. The connection fizzed. But I can change the discharge. I can make it directional. A lance, not a bomb. Leo's eyes went wide. He looked at the main tactical screen. He saw the Ascendancy flagship, a massive battleship, trying to claw its way out of the gravity well. It was the heart of their remaining force. Aim it, Leo commanded, his voice hard. Aim it at their command ship. There was a pause. Only the sound of Miller's labored breathing, acknowledged. On the resolute bridge, everyone watched. The glowing core of the station brightened until it was painful to look at. It did not explode. Instead, the energy focused into a single thin beam of pure white light. It was perfectly straight. It cut through the dark of space. It struck the Ascendancy flagship. The battleship did not just explode. It vaporized. One moment it was there, a city of metal and guns. The next, there was only an expanding cloud of superheated gas. The beam had punched a clean hole through the center of the enemy fleet formation. The gravitational pull from the station vanished. The path was clear. Go, now. All ships jump. Leo shouted. The helmsman slammed his controls. The stars outside the viewport stretched into long lines. The resolute leaped into the safety of faster-than-light travel. The last thing Leo saw was the iron fortress, its structure finally giving way. It collapsed inward on itself, then burst apart in a final, silent fireball. On the quiet bridge, Leo let out a slow breath. They had survived. They had won. A final broken transmission arrived. It was from Miller. There were no words, just a single small data file. Leo opened it. It was a photograph. It showed a young man with a bright, easy smile. It was Joe Miller. He had his arm around a woman who was laughing. A small child was on his shoulders. They were on a beach. The sky was blue. The sun was warm. They looked happy. The image was dated 10 years ago. Leo stared at the picture. He looked at the smiling man, then at the dark, empty space on the screen where the station had been. The victory felt cold. The weapon had worked perfectly. But the cost was now clear. The shadow they had sent was a man who had once had a family, a life, a smile. He had given all of that up to become the war that saved them.